automatically because it can sound transactional with an interview. So I usually jump in the middle of, just regular banter. But in the meantime, icebreaker question just to get us ready. Top 3 rappers, go.
Megan Thee Stallion, Missy Elliott. Yeah, I don't listen to that many rappers.
Yeah, I listen to a wider range
I guess J.
of
Cole
music,
counts.
but if he said top 3. He said top 3. So my top 3, and well, I'm just saying top 3. I'm going with their careers. I'm going with what they've proven.
Okay.
I have to go with Eminem, Lil Wayne.
Okay.
And third one's hard. There's a lot of different people I wouldn't want to put there.
Put it like this.
I'm going to...
If they were about to erase rap music and all of its history, but you could save 3, who would you save?
Oh, no, I would definitely... See, that would change it. That would change my answer. Because now it's back to my bias on what I want to listen to. So if we're talking about the bias on what I want to listen to, I'm saving a J. Cole album. I'm saving an Outkast album. And I would save old Kanye before the Kardashians.
College dropout Kanye or graduation Kanye?
Yeah. Late registration, graduation, college. That's that Kanye.
Okay. I respect that. Any changes, J.Rioh?
I do not think the Eminem one was damn. Well, if I could have a 4. But I don't listen to him on a regular like that. So I feel like with the 3 that I mentioned, I feel like I listen to them on a regular to the point that I would be satisfied if they were.
There's no way Megan Thee Stallion has enough music.
I wasn't gonna say nothing, but I was gonna let her have it.
Her stuff just wasn't that popular until her recent album came out. I think she has 2 other albums before the one that came out this year.
Really?
So I have a plethora of her stuff.
Now,
doing Missy Elliott anyway, I guess. J. Cole, I probably would try to get all his albums because I didn't get deep into his stuff until the KOD album, honestly. So.
Really?
Yeah, I was aware of
bought
who he
2 of them,
but I didn't really listen to him like that because I was telling you guys, I'm not really that big into rap.
Okay.
I'm big on pop. I'm big on people who got vocal ranges, so I'll be there listening to Bruno Mars, Adele, Sam Smith, all them people that can that obviously got pipes before listening to rap itself. So I just feel like rap, I feel like being in an aggressive mood, and that's not what I want to feel like all the time. So
respect.
There's that.
Respect. Going back to what you said about picking Adele, I think my favorite song by Adele isn't even technically from her album. Have you guys ever seen the James Bond film Skyfall?
No.
Oh, yeah, that is a good song.
Man, she sung the intro king.
Let me add that right now.
She sang the shit out that song, bro.
I mean, she can sing, though. I have what is it? She has an album called 21 or something. Mm-hmm. And it's on my iPod. And every now and then, I get a random Adele song that just pops up. And I just be in the car, black as hell, singing my little ass off to this white lady.
Hey, she can go, though, bro. I didn't even know she was white, because let's be real. The name Adele, who would have guessed she's white, But
I wouldn't have guessed anything. I wouldn't have known.
Right.
I wouldn't have known what she was.
Cause she
But she can blow though.
Same thing with JoJo. So she's also kind of a one-hit wonder.
Talking about
You said JoJo. I had to think about it. Who?
Talking about get out.
Yeah. Yeah, that girl. I thought she was black for the longest time.
No, I never thought she was black.
Nah.
Nah.
At no point did I think she might be black. No. Everything about that sounded like a emo white girl. Like that was just the time.
I did get her confused with one of those chicks from 3LW, I think.
Oh, true.
Yeah, I remember them.
Well, I can hear
no more, baby, I would turn around.
Right. That being said,
oh, memory lane, man, memory lane.
Yeah, right. And I'm older than y'all significantly. How old are you guys?
It is not significant, bro.
How old are you, King?
She's what are you, 26?
I'm definitely 24.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you
She's
go.
a baby, dog. She's a kid.
Look, nigga, as long as I know when your birthday is, okay? I don't need to know the year. You know how old you is. And I just turned 29.
Oh, you old.
So, I mean, like, we're all like right there.
Right. All right. Well, with that being the case, thank you for tuning in to another episode of A Business Minute. I'm your boy, Sir. And today I have a special guest, our podcast cousins. You probably tuned in and listened to their latest episode if you follow our page, where we were a guest on the Controversial Chronicles, or as I like to call them, our crime cousins. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of A Business Minute. I'm your boy, Sir. And today we're joined by Controversial Chronicles, Keem, a.k.a., should I say, Sir Rude and J.Rioh joining us today. How are y'all doing?
Hey, doing all right, brother. Thank you for having us on.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Returning that favor is a big thing. You guys had us on your show. Be more than a pleasure to have you on mine. And what kind of ass would I be if I didn't invite y'all on my end? So, but
I mean, you know, we talk about you, but that's about it.
All right. So you guys, Controversial Chronicles, to our listeners who don't know what you guys are about, could you explain what your platform is about?
Yeah. So basically, one thing that we like to do is debate and ask questions and challenge the considered norm in society. So we created a podcast where we could go and discuss the elephant in the room, talk about the things that are taboo, that you're not supposed to talk about, or that people just won't talk about in order to get someone's different perspective. The idea is that we don't have to agree. Sometimes we do, but we don't have to agree. But the idea is that we teach people and show them that you can have a conversation about something and grow from it and learn from it and still move on. You don't have to hate someone in this divisive society that we have now. You don't have to hate someone because they don't agree with you.
Facts.
Yep. You want to add on to that, J.Rioh?
I don't think there's much else to add except that we also talk about show suggestions that people should watch. And we also have our ranting minute at the end of the podcast. We haven't done that in a couple episodes because we had our guests on there. But we usually have our rants at the end of the show where we just talk about things that we're not judged upon, and we just go at it for 5 minutes. And if you agree, cool. If not, oh well. I said what I said, and I can't take it back. So, yeah, those are the only things
really. Yeah, to really expand on that last 5-minute segment, we have two of them. One's called Sir Rude's Soliloquy. The other one is called J.Rioh's Judgment. And just like JR said, it's an open space. It's a time for us to speak on something that's bothering us or that we observe, and we want to bring it to everyone's attention. And it could be positive, it can be negative. It's just more so your moment in your 5 minutes of fame, shall we say, in order to really go and talk about whatever might be on your mind at that moment.
Love it. And ever since I first listened to one of you guys' earlier episodes, I believe it was the Rainbow Church, I was doing actually some editing on a previous business minute and just listening, and I got hooked. I listened to literally about 4 episodes in a row, and I love it.
How it happened.
Yeah, right. And I've just been hooked. I'm always interested in hearing the intellectual thoughts of other people, even on everyday topics. It's refreshing to hear someone else have the same thoughts as you, or in some cases different views, but valid points nonetheless. And if they're not, you guys call bullshit. I love that too.
Hey, that's our goal. Because me personally, I'm the type of person that if you tell me that you believe in something or you believe a certain ideal, I'm going to question you. I don't want you to think I'm questioning you thinking that you're wrong. No, I'm going to question you for two reasons. One, I want to understand why you think the way you do.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part is, if you tell me that you believe in something, you got to prove it.
Right.
That's just how I feel about it. If you tell me that you believe in Santa Claus, why do you believe in Santa Claus? I'm not saying there is no Santa Claus. I just want to know why you believe in it. Like, if you can explain it to me to get me to think for a moment, just for a second, that there just might be a Santa Claus, I have so much more respect for your opinion. But if you just tell me, hey, I'm doing this because Sir told me to, nah, fam, that's not good enough for me.
I love it.
For me, I just like going over people's thoughts and their perspective on things. And me questioning just makes me want to just know more about it instead of actually judging on it. I think Keem actually mentioned that I don't really challenge people. I just question and try to understand instead of actually just challenging them and trying to not tell them they're wrong, but call bullshit on them unless it's like completely offensive or anything like that. That's when I'll be like, no, you're full of shit. Let's slow your roll.
And that has happened before. Like that
yeah,
we've had a couple of times where that's happened before, and we've had to. I do my best to try to reel things back in. I'll see that it's going a little bit further south than I would like for it to go. It's like, okay, guys, all right, let's calm this down. Let's take a second, and then let me ask you this. How about this? And, it's a thin line because you're talking about touchy subjects where it isn't just peaches and ice cream. We're not asking you what your favorite flavor ice cream is. There was literally an entire episode where we talk about should pedophiles have rights if they haven't done anything. That is not an easy subject for anyone to talk about. Tensions will rise and emotions will start to bubble forth. And sometimes you got to put a little cap on it, like, hey, okay, cool down. It's like you got the water boiling on the stove, and you put the noodles in, and that water start coming up a little bit. And you got to go over there and fan it a little bit, pour a little salt in there, try to get the bubbles to calm down, turn the heat down a little bit. But you still got to cook the noodles, man. You still got to finish the spaghetti, man.
Bro, that was so vivid. I literally look. I saw myself shaking the seasoning packet while you were talking.
Because y'all already know what it is. You know what it is.
Right. All right. So my first question, because you guys, you introduce yourselves, and thank you for doing so. With the podcast, how long have you guys been active?
It's been 2 years or 1 year.
It's been
over a year.
It's literally been 2 years as of next month. Next month will be 2 years, and it'll be our 50th episode.
Woo, all right.
Hooray!
Second anniversary. All right.
So we did 25 episodes per year.
Wow.
On average, because we had some rough times trying to iron out everything. Where we had we were doing every week. We were doing a podcast, and then that got to be way too much because we were both working and in school full time. So we switched it to every 2 weeks, and our lives have been so much better since then.
Right.
Yeah, but I was also taking as many vacations at one point, and just.
She was gone for like a month.
At the time, I wasn't just working, just one, but I was also going to class as well. So that was just a taste of hell at the beginning, but it's fine. We pushed through. We made it through.
We did, friend. We did.
All right. I feel like that's important. As long as you guys never gave up, I feel like you can kind of have a story to tell that will inspire other people who may want to start a podcast. And time is working against them, so that's pretty enlightening. So my next question: what inspired you guys to start your own podcast?
I'll let you tell the story, JR.
Child, I know for me, I was told that I had a radio personality voice, and I was like, but I don't sing, I don't rap. I was told I had a rapper voice too, and I was like, I can't rap, guys. Like, I can't fulfill this dream you guys have of me. But I don't know. We were talking we had a good conversation one day. Me and Keem, we were at some restaurant, and we were talking about religion. And it was a really good conversation. And I think later on down the line, I think I mentioned something on Facebook about I think it was that radio personality thing. And you were saying that I wanted to do a podcast for a while. And I said, nope, I'll do it with you. And he was like, oh, so for real, you want to do this podcast? Yeah, I'll do a podcast with you. And 10 times, he asked me a question about 10, 20 times later. And I still said yes. And then we just got our stuff together and we finally did the damn podcast.
Yeah, so it's like literally, it's one of those things where my best friend, he has started a podcast. And I knew I wanted to kind of do something. Like I wanted to get my voice out there, but I didn't want to cop what he was doing. So I wanted to be something different, something original to me. And then when JR showed the want to put together a podcast, my very first thing was like, yo, are you sure? Because like she said, bro, we was both full-time students in school. I'm working full-time. She working like 5 jobs. I'm like, nigga, do we have time for this? Are you positive that you want to do this?
Developed either. We were just like, I know you.
Oh, yeah, we had met like 2 months. We've only known each other like 2 months at a time.
Wow.
No, 3 months. We knew each other for 3 months when we started. And it was just like, yeah, okay, I guess we're going to do this. So I went and I did some research on how much money it was going to cost us. And we put in on the equipment and we just went for it, man. We just shot for it. Found some free software to use online. And I mean, it was, I tell you all the time, man, it's a struggle. It was a struggle starting off. We had to figure out how to get the sound to record correctly. I had recording software before. How do you post it? Where do you post it? And like, are we just going to be a SoundCloud rapper? Do you worry about are people going to actually listen to it? Because it's one thing to put stuff out there and people are literally listening to it all the time. I mean, we ain't brilliant idiots. Brilliant idiots, you know, whether they don't care. They don't check how many people are listening. They put the material out there. People are going to listen. Man, why would someone want to hear me talking in their ear for a fucking hour? Like, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And then when you listen to the both of us, it's like, who in their right mind would listen to us argue over something for an hour?
Right.
That sounds ridiculous.
Well,
but to anyone that wants to start a podcast, man, go for it. Like, why not? We're in the age of creativity where people are just putting any old thing out there. So why not? Go for it.
Right. I wholeheartedly feel you on that. When it comes to creativity, I will say there's definitely a market for anybody nowadays. I just saw that there's a YouTube channel of a young lady who gets paid to eat different items like bar deodorant, soap, and stuff like that. And she has like millions of views. And, you know, I
hope she has millions of dollars for that health insurance that she gonna need.
Right. Right. So is if she can make it, anybody can. And also, if you have a voice, just like you said, with the Brilliant Idiots, I'm a huge fan as well of those too. Andrew Schultz carries himself with the air of, I'm going to say what I want, and I don't care if you listen or not. And I think that's important because when you're first starting out a podcast, you can get hung up on, like you said, who's going to listen? You know, is anybody going to react to it? No. Your job is just to put out the content and have fun doing it. And if you do that, the listens will come. They'll definitely come. All right. So If we could, on my next question, this one delves a little bit deeper in those obstacles. What obstacles in particular did you both encounter independently as far as with the podcast?
You want to go first, J.Rioh?
For me, in the beginning, I wasn't really talking a lot, and I felt like I needed to have a more thorough research before we spoke about the topic that we chosen.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally like I hate listening to the first 3 episodes because you can tell like Hakeem was doing all the talking and I was saying yep, and maybe one sentence that like showed that I agreed or disagreed with him. I believe I can't remember what number it was, but when I was talking about single parents equals single forever, that was probably the only podcast, the very first podcast when I started like talking more, because I chose that topic for one, and I felt passionate about it because that was a concern for me at the time when we were talking about it. Because my mom basically raised me. My mom and dad were married for I think 10 or 11 years, but even when they were married, I never saw my mom and dad really react. It didn't really react to the point that I didn't even notice that the only reason I knew they were divorced is because he just happened to intentionally pick us up every other weekend or so. And of course my mom would say it. Other than that, I'm just like, it felt the same way. He's there but not there. So being raised under a single parent, does that mean will I actually be single forever, since I did not have an actual marriage to look up to type of thing? So yeah, those were the main challenges for me, feeling like I need to know a lot of what I'm talking about and actually talking when we're having the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we were the first couple of ones, we were talking about religion and politics, and I personally hate talking about politics because it just feels like an endless cycle of something that will just never end. So I just feel like I'm just talking just to talk when it comes to those topics. And I guess Keem can also chime in on the struggles that I have, because it's obviously I key point the ones that I know for sure, but I'm sure he has plenty of other things that I didn't catch on. I know with Keem as well, like he's a very dominant person, so it was also a challenge to like equally speak. Like he means what he said when it comes to fit in, like chime in when you fit in, or whatever that saying is saying. Said, but you better just make sure you talk, because if you don't, he's going to talk the entire time. So that was also a challenge.
She right. So some of the challenges I guess I face from my side of it. One is very much so our personalities, where I'm definitely an extrovert and JR is definitely an introvert. And when you hear our podcast, even now, I probably talk 60% of the time. But that works for our dynamic. A lot of people, you have to figure out what works for your dynamic. That works for our dynamic. But in the beginning, one thing that, as I listened to it, I was like, how can we improve this? Because it started off feeling like it's just an interview. I was like, this isn't supposed to be an interview. This is supposed to be our thing. It sounds like I'm just interviewing her on the topic. So we had to find creative ways in order to change that. And one of the things I would do is, just like that when she was talking about with the single parent, single forever, I wanted to make sure that it was something that she felt entitled to and she had to comment on. So I forced her to pick the topic, do all the research, and I would just show up. And when we did that, it forced her out of her shell to have a conversation, but it also forced me to shut up and listen, because I knew she had something to say. And there will be times where I've had to learn, and I'm still working on it. So, I apologize, JR. I'm still working on it. Where I have to shut up and just let her talk. And there'll be times where I'll catch myself about to interrupt her, and I will literally sit there and say, and bite my tongue, and not say nothing because I know she has something she wants to say, and if I start talking over her, she's gonna lose that thought, and she's gonna stop talking, and I'm gonna be blabbermouth and overtake the conversation. So learning how to deal with one another, and also even with that regard, like we said, these topics that we're talking about, it's touchy subject.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we had a conversation about abortion. Well, a lot of women feel like men should have no say in abortion, but I don't feel that way. So as she's a woman and I'm a male, we also have to take those things into account. How is what I'm going to say, how is it going to offend our listeners? How is it going to reach our listeners? How are they going to take it? A lot of the time when me and JR are having conversations and things go a little, they seem like they're getting a little saucy.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we're right in front of each other, looking at each other, we can take that and tone it down. If I see confusion on her face, I can know, okay, I need to go back and redo what I just said because it didn't come across right. Or if she sees confusion on my face, and it's usually followed by a, what, nigga? Then she knows she needs to go back and re-say what she just said. You don't get that luxury when you don't see the people that are out into the world listening. So you really have to be you really have to really blah. All that got messed up. I don't even know what happened there, y'all. I'm sorry.
I thought you had a stroke for a second, bro.
You really have to choose. You really have to choose and be choiceful about what you say. That way, you're not censoring yourself, but more so, people are actually understanding what you're saying. The only other issue that I'm learning to deal with now, and I'm becoming more comfortable with, is the fact that I'm putting something out there that's being judged by others.
Mm.
I'm not artistic in any way, shape, fashion, or form, and a lot of that has to do with I don't like people judging me. I've been judged and picked on my entire life. I got bullied like all throughout K through 12, and so I decided I don't want to be bullied anymore. So I'm really reluctant to put stuff out there. So when we first started doing the podcast, I'm going to be honest with you, half the people I knew, I didn't tell anything about it. I didn't want them to know that I was doing a podcast. Because when you listen to these podcasts, it's my safe space. I can say all the things that I can't say at work, I can say on this podcast. All the things that I can't say in the many organizations that I participate in, I can say on this podcast.
Right.
And it's such a freeing feeling. But at the same time, I don't need my boss coming to me saying, hey, King, what was that statement you made about white women? Like, oh, shit. Like, huh? Like, you know, I don't need none of that in my life. Like, I just don't. So that was a big thing for me. And it's one of those things I kind of envy JR with, because from the beginning, JR has been like, hey, man, fuck everybody. This is what I'm doing. And I admire it. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for all the white folks. Because it's not the black folks you got to worry about. It's the white folks, because they don't understand. You know, you hear my podcast, you understand my struggle because we have a similar background. But they don't understand my struggle. When I'm talking about a single-parent household, their single-parent household, everyone still has trust funds and shit. My single-parent household, you don't know where your father is to ask for child support.
Right.
Like, I saw my biological 3 times after him and my mom split. All 3 times was in child support court. So they don't understand that. It's a different struggle. So when I say certain things, they don't get it. But, you know, I really do admire JR for that reason, because although on some other things she's hesitant, she's not hesitant about putting this podcast out there. So, you know, those are some of the struggles I faced, I guess, in our 2 years that we've been doing this.
Cool.
Oh.
Right.
Don't ruin the compliment, man.
I mean, I
don't
say
ruin
because
it.
like I know I also got picked on as well, but I guess it became to the point of, I mean, I'm doing me now, and the people that sees me where they at, not doing well, and that's just the nicest way I can put it. So that's why I'm like, well, fuck your opinion, because at the end of the day, I'm speaking my mind, and most of the time when I say things, it's rationalized, and it's not like I'm just being mean to be mean, but there's actual reasons as to why I'm thinking this way. And I guess for me as well, a lot of people seem to like my rants beforehand, because I used to rant a lot on my Snapchat, and people are like, I love your rants, it's so funny because it's so true, yada, yada, yada. So that's why I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's why I'm very okay with people listening to the podcast. And I also wanted people to come into the podcast, because I know, like, for us, it was just our way. It's kind of like a hobby, but for me, I was just like, well, I want everyone to listen to our hobby, and there is an interaction with it, especially if people that are not in my background can actually talk about it. Again, I enjoy listening to other people's perspective about it, and if it's encouraging to listen to other perspectives, then I guess for me that was my personal goal. So I guess that's why I'm like everyone should know about this.
Yeah, and it is definitely the biggest part about it is getting to know other people's perspective on things.
Mm-hmm.
And just so people know, I'm not racist. I'm just a black kid from South Carolina, so I understand that there is a difference. You know, there's a difference between the races and everything. And one of my favorite episodes that we had was actually when we did mental health, and we had it was two white people,
Italian guy?
two white people. Yeah, we had a white woman, a white man, a black man, half African, and a mixie. So we actually covered a lot of different ground out there. We covered a lot of different ground, and I loved it because there were so many different perspectives and so many different educational backgrounds, so many different cultural backgrounds, and we were able to have a conversation and really understand how this comes full circle.
Mm-hmm.
So we both thoroughly enjoy that kind of thing, and I'm open to criticism. I don't mind criticism. Bring your criticism on, because the people listening to you the hardest are the people that got the most shit to talk about you.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody come up to you and be like, hey man, I heard the podcast, man, that's nice. Okay, cool. I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate you listening. But you want to know what helps me more? The person goes, hey man, I heard what y'all said about Donald Trump, man, and that ain't called for, because actually it's like, whoa, okay, criticism's coming, but I know you paid extra detailed attention because you're bringing out something that I said in particular,
mm-hmm.
and now we get to actually have a conversation about it. Mission accomplished.
Right. And the funny thing is, I listened to that particular episode second, and it's funny the little I say you guys divert from the topic often.
Oh yes,
but it's still hilarious.
We try our hardest to stay on topic. I have a list where I write down what different things we need to hit, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're talking about blueberry waffles. Like, how did we get here?
Right. On that episode, I think it was the one where you guys were talking about out of nowhere. You was just like, and black man, you need to stop using razors. Get you some lining clippers.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I really don't know how to drop this question.
I remember that. Because what were we talking about? I think we were talking about looks in the workplace or something like that.
Oh man.
Maybe it was like like black men and how they approach women. I don't know.
Right.
But all I knew is I had just put a fresh, clean shaver to my face, and I was like, you know what? I need to educate these people, because my coworker, he be coming to work and he shaves his head, so he coming to work and his face look like the top of his head look like the Appalachian Mountains, man. Come on, bro. What you got going on here?
That topic.
I can spell my name out in Braille on the back of your damn skull. Stop using the razors on your head.
Right. And you guys have a myriad of topics that you guys just randomly hit. And it's funny because they're true. They're like anecdotes within the overarching story. Like the the incident with one of your younger coworkers who would stare at your crotch when you would talk to him.
Oh, yeah, that's the guy I was just talking about. Like, bro, what the hell, man?
So it's a serious conversation, but it's those little nuggets that break up the monotony of seriousness and makes it hilarious and keeps you going, because it's very easy to get. I hate to say monotonous, but it is when you're talking about topics like mental health and things like that. Sometimes people can not be as interested, unfortunately, as current events. But when you break it up with that sort of insight and just randomness, it makes it exciting to hear every single story. So kudos to you guys on that, on being candid, and also kudos to J.Rioh.
Thank you.
It's always I hate to say daunting, but it is. It's always daunting to share your baby for criticism, and the fact that you were so gung ho about it, despite being introverted, is amazing. I'm speechless because when I started this podcast, I couldn't even promote it. I had to rely on my co-host to do it because I was so nervous of what everybody would think. So to step out of your shell like that is a huge task. So kudos to you, JR.
Oh,
Yeah, she's straight. She's straight.
Yeah. So that's going to bring me to my next question. Now, this one can kind of apply to you guys' personal traits because you guys are both educated and you guys have your own established careers, of course. So how do you guys manage to balance work and your personal life and the podcast?
For me, it's just organizing myself. Google Calendar has saved my life in multiple ways.
Preach.
Because when I put it on the calendar, I will get the notification 30 minutes beforehand. And there are other things that I do outside of work as well, so it keeps me with my time management. So when I get that notification, especially when I have multiple meetings or things in a row, I'm like, okay, I know what's happening next. This is coming, so that's when I'm able to actually text you guys, hey, is this still a go or not?
Right.
Okay, It's almost this time, so y'all ready or no? So it's just very easy for me to manage my life when it comes to the Google Calendar situation. And I guess it also just depends on if I really care and I want to be around you, then of course I'm going to make time. Like, I'm going to make you a priority as long as you don't make me an option.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Preach. So me, well, how do I balance? I don't balance. I fall and scrape my knee every day. I have started using the Google Calendar probably within the last 3 months, and it has thoroughly changed my life. I'm a part of Toastmasters, and I'm currently president of one club. I was president of two, but I had to drop one. And I'm also what we call an area director, which means that you're responsible for 4 different clubs at one time. So I'm over 4 presidents at the same time. And on top of that, I'm going back to school. We talked about that earlier, so that way I can get into the master's program for a graduate program for a doctorate in financial mathematics. I also judge speech contests, and I give little seminars here and there on public speaking and things of that nature, as well as I'm a part of Future Business Leaders of America, and I act as a unpaid volunteer advisor with Flagler College, Tallahassee, plug. And I do a lot. And on top of all of that, I'm married to my lovely wife of 3 years, and I got to make sure she's happy. And on top of that, I have a niece that needs attention. She turns 1 at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
I have a god baby that just turned 5 and another god baby that turned 2 in May.
Oh.
Needless to say, I have a lot going on in my life. And then we have this podcast. So one thing that I always do is I try my hardest to plan things out as far in advance as I can and really just stick on top of it. Work is going to be work. That's going to happen. But after I leave work, I try not to take any work with me.
Mm-hmm.
Leave it at work, come home, deal with, the next set of challenges or problems. And one thing like we spoke about earlier, that's why we switch from this trying to host a podcast every single week like everyone else does, and we switch to what works for us. And turns out what works for us is posting every 2 weeks. And we don't really cover current events. We cover problems that are topics you can talk about anytime. So we might record a few of them in advance because we know we have a busy schedule coming up.
Right.
So it's all about figuring out the little nuances that help you be successful. And so, like when I'm going to class, I got class in the middle of the day. So I go into work 30 minutes early. That way I can take an extra long lunch and go to class. I stay after work 30 minutes later. So I find ways to really make it work. And am I tired at the end of it all? Yes. But I do get fulfillment after turning around and seeing the greatness that, you know, we've established. Because I could just be, like, I look at it this way, man. I'm 29 years old, young black male in the South. I have no illegitimate kids. I've never been arrested. I have my degree with honors, and I have a decent paying job. And I actually have a few people in my life that give a damn about me. As far as I'm concerned, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing decent. I could be doing better. Money could be a little higher. You know, debt could be a little lower. Could be a little more healthier. But as long as they got cheeseburgers, I don't know what to tell y'all. But it's like, life could be better. But it's doing really, really good. And that's because I do my best to try to keep that balance as much as I can. Now, you have my wife she'll tell you straight up, there is no balance, and I overwork myself. And she's right. But it gives me fulfillment and it makes me happy. Because I'd rather kill myself doing something I want to do versus, you know, out here locked up on some stupid shit because I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people.
It's hard to argue with that, sir. It's hard to argue with that. All right. Well, I don't have any input on that. I think you both said a mouthful there. In this instance,
he said a mouthful. I just have my 2 points.
Don't do me. Don't do me. I think we spoke for the same amount of time. I was looking at the clock.
Okay.
Well, look, you know, I already said our ratio is 60 to 40. I don't know why you're trying to compare.
I mean, I'm just saying. Because I was just saying that you had a more mouthful than me. Because I'm sure it was not the same amount of time. But, hey, man, you might have a different clock than I got. So.
Hey, we do. JR got a lot of little stuff going on in the background too. She's very, very, very smart financially, and when it comes to trying to build generational wealth and change things, and also take her trips. So there's some stuff to learn from that. I need to learn how to play more like she does, and she probably needs to. I don't know. She got to learn something from me, but she'll figure it out. I don't know what it is.
I mean,
yet.
I learned.
I know there's something out there.
I learned from our previous conversation we had this weekend that I should challenge people more. So that's one thing I'm at least attempting to do. So
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Might not be a good influence, but I'm an influence nonetheless.
There you go.
Hey, man.
All right.
I don't know what type of influence, but yes, he's overall influence.
Now, I do have to ask, and this is completely off the record, but when you say challenge, are we talking like intellectually or just taking the glove off a nigga and slapping him in the mouth saying, I challenge you? Like, what sense are we talking
Everything. So here's my thing with JR, and we kind of talked about it in the podcast about her being more prideful.
Right.
Don't allow people to just challenge you and let it change. If people challenge you, don't let them change your attitude and your approach on things. Don't let them have the control. If you come up to me and you challenge me, like, sir, what's your favorite football team? Who's your favorite football team right now?
Saints.
Saints are trash.
Well, I hope you kick the back of your bed tonight. And you're not wearing socks.
You come back with something. You came back with something.
Right.
First of all, I don't mind the Saints. They're cool. I like them. But I'm a Jaguars fan, so I understand. Trust me, I
right.
Every day I stub my toe and I think to myself, that's what it's like to be a fan.
Right.
That's what it is. But JR is the type to be like, well, that's your opinion. No, fuck that. Hey, fuck their opinion. I want you to get nasty back with them. The Saints is trash. Who your team? Cool. They lost to the Cleveland Browns. Like, that's what I want to hear. Mm-hmm. Get that, again, that cockiness, get that pride about yourself, and I'm a huge believer of if you don't like a situation, what can you do to challenge yourself in this situation? Change.
Uh-oh.
That was
You're
more so
breaking
the
up.
point of
We're
our
losing you,
conversation.
Keem, if you could hear me.
No, like
Hello?
Keem was breaking up on my side.
Oh, I broke up?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, damn. Anyway, point of the matter is, I was telling her, like, if people challenge you, challenge them back, and
Right.
stick up for yourself. But if someone's doing something that annoys you, throw it right back in their court and see how they react to it. And once you put them in the position they put you in, see if they don't change their approach.
Right. Okay. Well, and I'll give you a chance to offer your not necessarily an explanation, but a rebuttal. Jr. Is there like an underlying reason that it sounds like you avoid I guess conflict in a little bit from what this I guess this conversation is going.
Right. Yeah, I guess the two reasons why I guess I'm like that is, for one, I think about, is it really worth wasting my breath on? Because I feel like with this person, they most likely might not listen. I know that doesn't make sense well with the wording I just said, but I feel like if I actually take out the time to explain why are you challenging me when you should be thinking this way, I fully believe that with my wording, they're just going to take it on as more of a challenge instead of actually making them think for themselves as to why am I asking them that question. And I guess another thing when it comes to it, when I don't challenge that person, like for that same exact example with the Saints thing, if I don't know much about football, I can't really get back at them. And I'm just paying attention to the Saints. I don't know who else that you're tripping about, so whatever. Like that's my thought process. So obviously I need to do better at that, especially with what we were saying with that example of if people are challenging me, I can definitely challenge them back. And the example, well, what I mentioned to Keem the other day was my friend was asking me a bunch of questions and trying to get up in my business, but I didn't react the same way as she was reacting. So that's why I was like, and that's the whole tension comes in where it's like, are you really my friend? Because the way that you're asking me and challenging me is kind of pissing me off. And from what I can tell, you're not doing any better than me right now. And that's why Akeem was saying that I should challenge her the same way that she was challenging me, so that way she might be able to comprehend what is she doing to me. So yeah.
You gonna put me on the spot, fam? I can put you right back on the spot. What's good?
Right.
I mean, it's not like I'm not dragging you. I'm just stating the fact of what happened. And I'm telling you that I agree with you, and that should be a conversation the next time we speak. So, well, not we as in me and Keem, but me as in
right.
me and that
Said
friend I'm
party.
talking about.
Right. And I can see both ends of that spectrum on this topic. On one end, you definitely, JR, you're an adult. You don't have to explain anything to anyone. Period. As long as there's a bill in your name and you're paying for it, you provide your own shelter, your own means of survival. You don't owe anyone any explanation. Now, as far as this person who was questioning you, I feel like if they mean something to you, if you want to explain that, that's fine. But on the other end, antagonizing you or patronizing you or interrogating you, I'm a little bit more on Keem's end and stand your ground and hey, fuck are you doing? So I feel that. But then again, there is a little bit of the introvert in me. I think about 4 steps ahead, like you were saying, where, all right, I man up, I explain what's going on, I invest all this energy, and they just storm off. Nothing's changed. So now I'm emotional, and I've invested time and energy into someone that doesn't necessarily matter in this aspect. So I get both sides. But at the end of the day, let no one bully you, is as I think is what Keem's coming from.
Right. And I agree.
Yay. All right. So, yeah, we went left there. But that brings me to a lighter question, and I like to ask this because it can kind of jog that memory that kind of inspired you to in the idea of why you're doing this. Was there any experience so far that reminded you this is why I love podcasting for either of you?
For me,
Yes.
it's just for me, when it comes to I love podcasting, is because I guess when you look back on like that first episode or the earlier episode of last year, you get to see the growth. You still get to laugh at the same thing that you said that year ago, and you remember the thought process as to why you thought it was funny. Like, I still laugh at the same parts of where I laughed at in that podcast from a year ago. And I just think it's so funny because, I don't know, it's like you would think you would get over that old corny joke that you said from a year ago, but you think it's still funny. Same thing with what Keem said.
My shit not corny, thank you very much.
I mean, either way, like, the things we say on the podcast is just really funny, and I guess in a way, it's really fun to realize that it's out there forever, so it's kind of like a time capsule.
Right.
So when we're old and everything is online, like that, that's one show. What is that show? Black Mirror, where the guy, he's like, record the guy's voice and everything, and they make a fake guy is because of all the stuff that he posted on social media. I feel like it won't be to that extent, but you're able to look back as to how we used to be, what we thought about, and watching that growth and corniness still be alive in a sense. So I hope that
you got one more time to call my shit corny.
Corny or
See, she stood up to you, King. See, she's already taking note, bro.
I like it. Well, on that note, I think the biggest thing for me is to get the experiences of others and to be able to take that on. When we had transgender onto our podcast, I know zero things about transgender people. Did not understand it. In fact, when I hear transgender, all I think of is chicks with dicks. And I'm like, I don't really know nothing else about these people. I want to be educated. I want to be informed. So I got a chance to meet him, get into his head and see what does it really mean to be a transgender. It was just like a learning experience.
Right.
We had an episode that talked about disciplining children, and we had someone reach out to us, and she shared her experiences that she went through when she was abused, when she was to the point of needing to seek her own mental health because of the issues that she was mental health help because of the issues that she was going through. Being able to hear people's story, provide them with a platform on our platform, it's like, wow, I really, really enjoy this. Like, this is amazing. This is crazy. And again, you put it out there, and all of a sudden you turn around and boom, people actually care about what you have to say.
Right.
And that's not something I'm used to. So it's a really big deal. You put it out there, and all of a sudden, boom, you turn around and you have a podcast. Like, people, just like JR said, your slot on the internet is there, because work on the internet is there. It's somewhere. You're never going to be able to delete it all. It's out there somewhere. And that's just amazing. That's an amazing feeling.
Right. I'm with you there. And as far as me, one of the first few episodes we recorded wasn't even intending to be a podcast recording. I just so happened to hit record to get a sound test, and we ended up having a 3-hour conversation with myself, a professional photographer, and a business promoter. And the name of the episode is called Barbershop Talk. And the reason I called it that is because we just went in as men, just talked about everything from our first time experimenting with drugs, first time having sex, and it's on our YouTube channel, but it is the most listened to episode that we have out, and it wasn't even intentional. And like you said, when you talk about a passionate topic such as your first time, it's embarrassing, but it's kind of like a sigh of relief, a sort of catharsis, because you got it off your chest. And when you see other people react to it and react similarly, you feel validated. So you're like, oh, okay, especially with being a guy, because when was the last time you walked up to a complete stranger and talked about your first time having sex? So.
Yeah, no.
Right. Not saying to go do that. Please do not approach strangers and talk about your first time having sex. That's completely awkward and inappropriate. But yeah, I definitely feel you. Kudos to you guys on keeping it up. Honestly, when I look through your episodes, the first time I checked you guys out, I like how your titles were direct and to the point, and they were all. It felt like gut checks. It was topics that needed to be talked about, and it stuck to me. So I encourage you guys to keep going with that same format. You guys are doing great. All right.
Well, thanks. We literally have the episode, and then after we're done with the episode, we sit there and come up with what the title should be. And we want it to be something that's kind of clickbait, but at the same time, you get an idea of what we're talking about. Similar with Rainbow Church. Soon as you see Rainbow Church, it's like, huh? What? Like, what is that? But it's probably going to have something to do with gays and religion.
Right.
And when I say gays, I mean the whole alphabet community. It's just so many of them.
Alphabet
but y'all know who y'all are. We support y'all and what y'all do. But yeah, that's one of our things we try to do. And we try to get a little original with it, have a little fun with it. But in the end, when you listen to it, I want you to know what you're listening to. We want you to know what it is that we're talking about, because I want you to go have the conversation with somebody else.
Right. Right. It also makes it easier to find, because you just don't hear a topic about Rainbow Church and not be able to find it again. It's pretty good. Pretty good. All right. So my next question, it's a little bit more on the downside. And the reason I say that is because for every high, there's a low. And it wouldn't be fair to hear about the positives if we didn't hear about the negatives. So with that being said, at any point in time, did either of you feel that with this podcast you wouldn't be as successful? And if so, who or what changed your mind?
Want to go ahead first, Ken?
Oh, sure. Let me be the one to air out the dirty laundry.
Let's go.
So to making sure I understand, was there basically any time where we thought this podcast ain't gonna work?
Right.
I would say there was probably 2 times where I kind of felt that way. In the very beginning, because I was like, how do I change it so that we aren't just doing an interview where this is just me sitting here talking about something and I ask her opinion on it. And especially because people keep forgetting, it's not like we've known each other. When we started this, we only knew each other for 3 months. And that was barely seeing each other. We saw each other maybe once a week because we were going to the same, we were in the same speech organization. So it's one of those things where how do we change this to make people want to listen to it? Because right now, I don't want to listen to it. So how do we change that? What's going to happen if people don't listen to it? Are we going to quit? And then the second time was when we tried to get our lives together. She was doing a lot of traveling. I had a lot of stuff going on. And that's when we had took almost a month hiatus at one point. And I know for a fact if we didn't get back on it, we were going to become so consumed with everything else, so we wouldn't make time to do it. So we eventually found a way to make time to do it, and we changed up the formatting a little bit to make it easier for us so that we can still enjoy it and it's not becoming a task of, okay, well, when are you available? Cool, well, we have an hour and 15 minutes on Wednesday night at 11:30. Let's try to squeeze it in real quick, squeeze in a recording. It's like, bruh, it's not, when it's not fun anymore, you don't want to do it. So we had to find a way to make it enjoyable. And then, of course, there's always the threat of, hey, I might be moving, or I might, the wife might be leaving the area, or she might be leaving the area, but it's one of those where that's not really an issue now because did some research, and as you saw from our podcast last time, and it's probably similar software that you're using right now, there's a way to do remote podcasts.
Right.
So we can find ways to make it work.
All right.
So now, JR, it's your turn.
Okay. I'm just going to expand on.
Hold on, let me just go on and preface this with: you can't use my answers. You have to come up with your own answers. You can't just sit there. Well, I agree with what you said.
Nah. My own answer. I was just going to expand on the part of when it felt like it was more of a task and the fun of it was dying out for me. And one of the episodes, mainly the mental health part 2, I believe, that was when we were trying to bring all those same guests together, and it seemed like it was just not happening. And I was getting upset that you are more concerned of having these guests come back when we can just go ahead without them. And we were just having that butting head / communication about that.
Yeah, that was funny.
To the point that I was just like, I really wanted to say, fuck you, Keem, in this podcast. Like, it was just like, it wasn't fun anymore when it came to trying to bring all these same people and trying to schedule and everything like that. And I guess in a way that comes with growth, but at the same time, it was just like, to me, my mindset is like, it didn't matter if these people, the same amount of people didn't show up. If we got at least one of those guests that we had, and at that time we had 3, it should be fine. Preferably 2, because one of the people that were a guest on there, she was a guest on previous episodes. So having 2 out of the 3 would have been okay, and he was just fighting so hard for all 3, and I was just like, yo, like, record the fucking thing, dog. Like, it doesn't matter. So, and then at that time as well, we didn't really talk about it after that whole situation was kind of blowing up, because I definitely blew up when all of that was happening. Like, blew up as in I got really pissed off, and I was like cussing him out in front of that whole group chat, and reasonably so. Keem just did not speak to me because he was going to drag me to shreds. So all that happened. Finally, we were able to get back together with that podcast, but we didn't speak about it until maybe 3 or 4 episodes later when we actually sat down, and I told him how I really felt and how close I was to just saying, fuck this podcast. So that was just one moment where I was just like, yeah, this might not work out because this is becoming way too much.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on that, she does have a point. So it's the episode. No, listen, I already gave my answer. This is my rebuttal. You know, the prosecution is to come back with closing arguments, I feel. So, but to add on what she said, like, we had three guests on that show.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had 3 guests on that show. And it was a beautiful, stimulating conversation with the exception of one person. Somebody was just trying a little too hard. But point of the matter is, we had a great conversation, and I wanted to try to get as many of those people back to continue that conversation. And what ended up happening, of course, you know how it is, man. You're able to get 5 people in one spot together at one time, and it worked beautifully. The first one, oh God, it worked beautifully. But when we had to come back for the second one, man, this person couldn't make it because of this, and this person couldn't make it because of this. And it was frustrating. It was frustrating for me, but I was like, well, I'm going to try to make this happen. And then JR started getting frustrated. And once somebody said something, I remember the person, I can't remember what the hell they said. They said something, and then JR was like, look, man, fuck all these people. Why can't we just record it? And I was like, well, I mean, I kind of told them they was going to be on it. I'm trying to get them on it. Like, we actually got this to work, and we had a good conversation. Mm-hmm. I want to keep feeding off of that. And, you know, like she said, she snapped at me, and then it was one of those things where, you know, I did snap back because, like, I told her to stand up for herself. I stood up for myself. And a nigga had to just remind her real quick whose dick is bigger, okay? Like, it's cool. It ain't even about being bigger. It ain't about look, but mind the same side. You're going to respect you're going to respect his weight. That's all I'm saying. All right? And so after and it took some time because she called me and it was so funny because I will say, Jay, after all that happened, she did apologize really fast. And she was like, listen, I'm sorry. I was like, I know you are. It's cool. Like, we good. Ain't no bad blood, fam. We good. But I just need you to know that I'm the type, I knew I needed to not say anything because I would say something and it would be over. Like, you have to learn how to deal with people. We're working together. This is basically a business. We're not making any money off of it yet, knock on wood. But This is a business. And you have to know how to work with the people in your business. Even if we're both upset, we don't need to do something irrational like cancel something that we put so much blood, sweat, and tears into simply because we get pissed off at some other people in their mess. It's not like ain't like we were the ones messing up. It was somebody else's problem. But that's a part of the growing pains, and we've grown together, and now stuff happens now. It don't even much faze us. It's like, oh well, we were going to have this person join us, but they ain't join us, or they ain't do it in time, or whatever the case might be. Cool, whatever. Move on with life. We become much more flexible, and I think that goes back to just learning how to enjoy the moments.
Well said, Sir Rude. Well said, bro. And I'm going to use this term because we technically are in this case. With handling the editing and audio and everything, we are essentially the producers of the show. It is very disheartening to get one episode with a group of people that is just orgasmic, and then you try to set it up again and it's like everything works against you. It is very disheartening, but to be able to pull out of that, even though it put you guys through the ringer, to pull out together and recognize each other and be able to shrug it off and laugh at the end of the day, that's important because essentially you guys are family. And family argues, family fights, family calls each other little dick niggas sometimes. That's just how it works. But at the end of the day, you guys are still strong, and you're about to make year 2, episode 50. So hey, you guys are doing something right. So hats off to both of y'all. And that's the last of the props I'm gonna give you, I promise. All right, so that leads.
Oh no, you can have some more. That's fine.
Now, my next question. Now, J.Rioh did get a chance to see my questions, so this one may come.
I'm looking at them.
All right, perfect. All right, so this one I call the long-term question. So if you need a moment, take it, and I'll just edit that shit out. But where would you guys like to see yourselves? And I'm going to extend this a little bit more since I have the both of you. Okay, so I'm gonna alter this question a tad bit. So where would you guys like to see your podcast and yourselves in your careers in 1 year, 3 years, and then in 10 years? And I tell you what, I'm going to assign who goes first. So I'm going to actually let J.Rioh go first on this one.
Okay. 1 year for this podcast, I believe we will still be doing our thing. If anything, the only thing that's different is where we would do it at. Because I don't know if Keen will be walking away from Tallahassee or if I will at that time. But yeah, and for myself personally, I want to start implementing my own stuff as well when it comes to like my animation work, my digital artwork, and the asset I'm trying to build on the side. So I can be one step closer to retiring early, because that is the main goal here.
Right.
And being able to have that generational wealth being set for generations to come, not just me. So I guess I answered 2, 3, and 10 years. 3 years, I hope to be retired by then.
Okay.
And then within 10 years, I'm actually able to impact others and help them as to how to retire early as well. And being able to travel more and being able to provide my family in more ways than they could ever imagine. That is my aim personally for 1 year to 10 years. For the podcast, I still want Akeem around and having this podcast. It's
That's
gonna
good
be,
to know.
if anything, it'll just
Right.
feel like it'll be more difficult to find topics to talk about by the 10th year. Because even now, it's kind of like, what the heck are we going to talk about now? Like, we have that at the 2-year mark. So going by the 10th year, it's like we might be going off of just news and maybe stemming off of a conversation we had before, but just looking deeper into why we are talking about it, mainly from what happened in the news or what happened on social media or what a certain person said that made us want to talk about it more. So yeah, I really maybe we can actually get into, like, I don't know if they would reward us for our podcast by the 10th year, but maybe they'll reward us because our podcast lasts for 10 years, so that I can see that happening. I can definitely see Keen definitely speaking out, not just about the podcast to a large audience, but just with him, because I know he has a story to tell, so I can see that happening. He's impacting many others in his own way, so I can see that happening as well. I can definitely see him being a teacher. He'll be that teacher that people will talk shit about, and I'll just be laughing along with the children. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
All right, and if I may, before I allow you to answer, Keem, J.Rioh, you kind of glanced over it casually, but with you being an artist, I just wanted to put a quick plug in. I went through, I think it was it was Instagram. I was about to say Snapchat, but I went through Instagram and looked at your work after our podcast, because I think we added each other. And man, I'm not even blowing smoke. I'm being completely real. Kid, you have so much talent just off the few pictures I saw and clicked on. And I only did about 5 because I didn't want to seem like a weirdo. But I thought...
I mean, you wouldn't be the first weirdo I would have encountered, so it would have been fine with me.
Well, that's
In
good.
other words, go like them pictures, boy.
Right. Because I was looking, and man, like, your attention to detail and some of the color schemes you chose are amazing. Like, they're easy on the eyes. And I was just looking at the sketches of some of your more recent work, and it puts me in the mind. Listen, I'm a huge nerd. I'm a comic book fan, and I have certain artists I like, and you put me in that mind. Like, I would love to see just some of, I don't want to say original work, but I would love to see your style of work in a comic book. I know that sounds a little random, but just as
it makes sense. Well, I'm understanding what I'm following.
Right. To those of you who don't get it, get you a comic book. But seriously, I could definitely see you doing that, especially with the figures you did. You did a lot of art with black women, and it looked... Listen, if y'all are listening to me, go on her Instagram page, and we'll get her to plug that later on. But please go and check her out. She is amazing. All right. So...
She is good. I've been trying to tell people, so now you understand when you was on our podcast what I was saying about her work, man.
Right.
Girl got some talent. Take some pride in that shit, man.
Right. I would talk about that ish all day. Like, it was to the point where I asked, do she do logos and things like that? She doesn't, which is cool, and that's perfectly fine. Sorry. But
I'll get there. But I've drawn logos before, and a couple people have asked me to draw them out, but they're like, thanks for the concept, but can you do digital? And I'm like, yeah, no, sorry, I'm working on it though. I will get it together eventually. But
no.
Yeah, people have came to me when it comes to concept, not only logo but tattoo concept as well. And people ask me to done their portrait before. I've done plenty of portraits. I've done caricatures, and I learned that I hate caricatures very quickly.
Why?
I hate caricatures because it just, like, as you can tell, I try to be as realistic as possible.
Oh, yes.
And caricatures are just to be funny, and I feel like, in a way, it doesn't look like them, and I just have that internal battle of, I know this is trying to be funny, but this looks nothing like you, and I don't understand how you would like this. Like, That's literally my thought process when I was doing caricatures.
Okay.
And when I was doing that as well, it's not just drawing the pictures and be funny, but I'm also having to interact with those people and try to be happy and smiley while also doing the caricature. And for me, and what we talked about on our last podcast, I am not bubbly by any means. So there was always a very big disconnect with the customer that I was drawing the caricature for. So that's why I definitely get some away from that. But the funny thing is, when you mentioned the comic book, I used to do my own little comic strips, and for me, like, I try to do like maybe 4 or 5 like panels, squares to draw in, because to me at the time it was a lot. But I would love to do a comic thing, which is why I'm also trying to talk to more artists and writers, because by next year I hope to start collaborating with artists for them, so that way I can make a motion picture for them, to little to no money, and we can just collab together and then post it on either YouTube, DeviantArt, or some type of platform, so that way our show can be out there to gather attention. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. And I remember I was very big on sci-fi, and I still am, but I feel like I'm not creative enough when it comes to my story that I was thinking of depicting, but that definitely inspired me to go back to it, because I definitely have unfinished work that I was trying to do comic book style-wise.
Hey,
so I'll definitely see.
Look at that. A little spark out of nowhere. Awesome. All right. Well, King, what about you, brother? What would you like to see the podcast in 1, 3, and 10 years, and the same as with your career, sir?
As far as the podcast goes, in 1 year, I just want to still be doing it. That's just the gist of it. As we are experience growth in our lives, it just becomes more and more of, it's another task. It's another task to make sure that you get done. Just like we make sure we pay rent, we make sure that we get this podcast out.
Right.
In 10 years, I would like to see it grow to the point where we are doing ads. People want to pay us to talk about their product because people want to listen to us. That would be very dope. And I kind of agree with JR to the fact of, regardless of whether or not people are listening to it, if I make a podcast and it lasts for 10 years, shit, y'all can't tell me shit. I'm so sorry. Like, there's nothing you can tell me about podcasting that I have not experienced. I'm so very, very sorry, especially because I doubt both of us will be in the same city in 10 years. That just probably will not be happening, because I expect her to move on to bigger and better things, and I expect myself to do the same. So that's where I really want to see it go. I want to see it grow into something where it might even become a mixture thing, where instead of us just talking about controversial topics all the time, where she does have one on there where she maybe does something dealing with the arts, or we have an interview with somebody that can talk about how do you build wealth and things of that nature. Because we talk about a lot of things, but a lot of stuff gets revisited when we have other people to come bring in their feedback on it. There's actually 2 or 3 different podcasts where I have a friend of mine, Cece, that y'all can hear on next week's episode, and we want to I'm thinking about actually bringing her back to revisit some of those other topics, especially because she's very outspoken and she's also female, and I like having more females there, because it brings something out in JR when there's another female there. It's almost like she gotta outspeak the female. She gotta outdo the female, so she don't feel like she get replaced. But it's like this little fieriness, and I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. It makes for great conversation.
But with her, like, especially Cece, like, we just had the same mindset, and I guess I got fired up because it's like, to me, it's very rare seeing people that actually want to do more in life and actually are trying to take action to do so. And the fact that she's very direct. So the fact that she was all 3 of those things, so it wasn't to challenge her. It was more of, I'm very fired up that I found someone that is in the same mindset. Because a lot of people are very, I'm just going to work, and I'm okay with working. I don't plan on doing anything outside of work to make sure that I'm okay, or my family, or my generations to come is fine. They're just, in a way, it's kind of selfish. It's not like to be mean selfish, but it's like I'm just here to live this one life, and okay, who cares towards the next person that comes along, type of thing. So the fact that I was able to talk to Cece and see that she actually wants to do more, and she sees that the value of money and knowing that wealth just doesn't just happen. You actually have to work for it, and the fact that she's trying to do so with her multiple businesses that she has, I personally just like that aspect of seeing people who are trying to actually work on doing better for not for themselves but for other people, including their family and friends. So, that's why I guess it looked like I was, to team that I was challenging her, but it was just more of I'm fired up.
It's not bad. You say it like it's a bad thing. You saying it like it's a bad thing, bro. I'm not saying it's
kind of described it as so, and that's why I'm like, let me correct the crowd here before the crowd thinks it's something different. I was actually pretty happy that she was a really great guest. So.
She really was, and but again, that just speaks to what do I look forward to. I look forward to that type of deal. How much further can this podcast go? Mm-hmm. And how much more can it evolve? Now, in my personal life, in 1 year, goodness gracious, my 1 year goals are kind of shallow and simple. I just want to get accepted into this program, do a little better at work, and really just kind of keep on the grind, keep doing what I'm doing to get where I want to be. I'm actually going to jump to 3 years. In 3 years, I want to be working my way towards my teaching certification, because my dream job is actually to be a teacher, but you can't pay the bills being a teacher, so that's why I became an accountant. So I want to work my way through my certification. That way I can begin teaching. And in 10 years, much like J.Rioh, I want to be retired from accounting, and I want to work as a teacher, but be working on my own terms. Not working because I need the money, but working because I love to teach. Right. So that's the goal now, to save up and get things established so that I can do that. And take the wife wherever she wants to go when she wants to go. Where she want to take a trip, so-and-so, let's go here. Sure, babe, let's go. I have a test that Friday, so, we can't leave until after school is out. Something of that sort. But that's really the goal. I'm not as strong on the building generational wealth as J.Rioh is. She's much further ahead of me in the mentality. But I am one of those people. I refuse to work as hard as my parents did. I refuse to work as hard as my parents are working right now. And like I said earlier, I got 2 god babies and a niece, and you best believe, like, I'm already putting money aside for them so that when they go off to college, they're gonna have a nice little chunk of change that'll be there.
They ain't gotta struggle like us, basically.
Nah, I don't want you to go full-time school and full-time work. You shouldn't have to work that hard. If I have the means to help you, I'm gonna do it. So that's more so my 10-year plan. And also, I also want to become a public speaking coach. That was something that will have taken place within that 3 to 10 year mark, where I intend to go help out organizations, help out children, speech therapists, whatever the case might be, and to just becoming more confident public speakers. Because I don't care what it is that you're saying. If you say it the right way, people will listen. And if you don't believe me, look at politics. Some of the best speakers in the world aren't saying shit at all. But you'll pay attention to them just because of the way they say it. And why is that? Because they have the confidence. And that confidence I really want to build up, especially in young people, and especially within the black community, obviously, because that's where I'm from, but also just in young people in general. People have a huge fear of speaking, and 9 times out of 10, it's just because they just didn't practice it. They didn't have that person there showing them that you can do it. And I want to change that.
Love it. Leave your mark, make your legacy through the people in the community. I love it, Keem. Cool. kudos to both of you guys. And I can definitely see in you guys making those goals a reality. I pray that you guys continue this for as many years. I hope you exceed 10 years, honestly. And to hear your aspirations as a teacher, Keem, and giving back, and to hear that, JR, you want to teach stability financially. These are things that you can't really learn. I hate to say in school, but you can't. You got to learn those as you grow. And to be at the age that you guys are and have those aspirations now is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, because most people I hear say, oh, I just want to be out of debt by the age 30. But you guys are planning on making a difference, doing what you love, and giving back by then. So kudos to you both, man. Kudos to you both.
Thank you, man. I try, dog. I try.
All right. So
Yeah, thank you.
no problem. So now this is my last question, and I like to call this my favorite one because I dedicate this question to everybody that's listening. So the hardest thing to do when venturing into something new is taking that first step, because it is indeed the scariest. So to someone who wants to start their own venture, whether it be a career, whether it be a podcast, whether it be a kite making business, I don't know, whatever it may be, what words of encouragement would you have for that particular person who's scared to take the first step? And I'll start with you, King.
If you are scared to take that first step, the very first thing I'm going to say is write down everything that you need to do and then start doing that list. Very, very simple. Start doing that list. It does not matter whether you can't afford everything. If you can't afford to buy $200 worth of equipment, then get you a $10 microphone and plug it into your laptop and go. If you want to start a business where, I don't know, you braid hair on the side or whatever, go ahead and set up a Facebook page so that you have an interface. Then go ahead and start braiding hair. Don't sit here and wait for someone's validation, because if you ever wait on someone else to validate your dreams, you'll find yourself sleeping forever.
Ooh,
that was some deep shit. I need to write that down.
That was.
Oh my goodness. I am proud of myself for that.
Bruh, my stomach dropped when you said that. Like literally.
Wait a minute.
You know that feeling you're about to get when you're getting the whooping? Like that was the feeling I got. That's how deep it was.
Please don't bring that back. Why would you bring that up?
I'm just saying, bro.
All the options you could have had.
I'm just saying, it was so deep. I thought I was in trouble. But go.
But yeah, that's my advice. Don't be afraid to take that leap. And if you have someone in your corner that is supportive of that venture, especially like I was nervous about it, but JR was like, let's do it. Like, hey man, sometimes you have to put aside all your planning and procrastination and just go for it. If it fails, it fails. Because what's the good thing about failing? Well, you just means you get to try it again a different type of way. So don't be afraid to fail. You're 9 times out of 10, at some point, you're going to fail, and that's fine. You bounce back, and you bounce back higher than when you fell down. That's all that matters.
All right. JR, what you got for me?
Gotcha. And I agreed with everything that Keem said. If anything, I'm probably just going to say to my own words. When you start on whatever venture that you're doing, I want to focus on why am I doing this? Because if you know that your why is strong enough, then you can figure out the how. So that is my first tidbit. With the failing, that is a common fear for everyone when it comes to starting a business especially. But the thing is, for me, I believe in mentorship and finding someone that's actually going to help you to genuinely help you out to where you want to go. And that involves talking to people. And again, if you have a strong why, then talking to people will be little to no issue, because it doesn't matter as long as you care about the results, you would go out of your way to make sure you talk to any person that looks like, if you're looking at that person that they are where you want to be, then you would make sure you go out of your way and talk to that person as your mentor. But I've also thought with the failure thing as well, success is a mountain after failures. You can't succeed without failing, like Keem was saying. So as long as you fail forward, it's fine. And what I mean by failing forward is, of course, you fell, scraped your knee, you failed, but what did you learn from that failure? Okay. It's like same thing with riding a bike. You rode a bike, you leaned a little bit to the right too much, and you fell over. What did I learn from that experience? Don't lean to the right. Try to balance yourself. Try to get more to the left. Hold on to your brakes. I don't know, but just learn from that mistake or that failure. And the more you fail, the more seasoned or experienced that you are. So that way you can move forward with whatever you're doing, and you can also help others in the long run, so they can, in a way, cut the corner of your mistakes. So that way they don't have to go as many failures as you had. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Just know what your why is. Fail as many times as you need to, because as many failures as you get, you're one step closer to your success. And also just worry about your association, because like he was saying, that if I was a negative friend and said, nah, I ain't gonna work, then the podcast would have never happened. So make sure you are surrounded by positive people that actually want you to succeed. I think that is a really big key there, because if you actually hang out with 4 poor people, you're going to be the 5th poor person. What is that term? That flock together thing? Like
birds of a
feather flock together.
Yes, that whole thing. I definitely believe in that, because you are who you hang out with the most. So association, your why, and fail as many times as you need to for your success.
I love it. It's all about the energy around you, and that produces results, whether it be positive or negative. All right. So, JR, I'm going to start with you. If any of our listeners want to get in contact with you, whether it be about the podcast, whether it be about your art, how could they reach you through social media?
For our podcast, definitely go on Facebook and just search Controversial Chronicles. If you don't know how to spell that, dictionary.com is your best friend, or Google. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram now.
Hey.
Google Play, Apple Podcasts,
hey.
Spotify,
hey.
iHeartRadio.
Hey.
We're everywhere. But for me personally, you can follow me where I post most of my artwork. Mainly is on my Instagram at J_Rioh, RIOOO. Can't miss me. I'm a pretty girl.
Wow.
My Instagram is private. So I'll probably, if anything, I'll just be looking at you and be like, "Who is this person?" But I'll add you though, since I'm getting publicity at this point. I'm also on Twitter. We're also on Twitter as well. The podcast, podcast_CC. My Twitter is at J.Rioh, but it's spelled differently. J_Rioh. Mainly because those are my initials. And you should be able to see me there as well. You'll just be seeing me saying a lot of dumb shit, because that's what I use Twitter for, and to retweet.
So does our president, but we won't get into that. All right. So, King, what about you, brother? If anybody wanted to get in contact with you, whether it be about the podcast, or they want some tips on speaking, or just want to holler at you, see what you're about, how could they reach you, brother?
So the main way to reach me, if it's about the podcast, is to email me. I'm always in the email, and I'm also the big caretaker of our Facebook page. So you can, for those that can't spell Controversial Chronicles, we have made it a little bit easier. You can go to facebook.com/podcastcc. You can search go through it that way through your web browser. Also, you can email us at theccpod@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at theccpod as well. who just joined up on there, I'm not real big on social media. I'm there. I'm real active on Facebook, but I don't necessarily accept everyone into my Facebook because that's my main thing that I use. However, you can add me on the snap of the chat. And actually, dude, what is my Snapchat? Is it Sir Rude Ass? I have no idea. I think my Snapchat is Sir Rude Ass, one word, SIRRUDEASS. That was my nickname back in the DAY, and then I changed it to Sir Rude because that's a little bit nicer for the kids. And if you want to email me, emailing me is the best way to reach me if you have questions about anything. And I also do provide like mentoring and things of that nature. So if you have any questions, you can email me. My email is BennettAkeem@gmail.com. That's BennettAakeem@gmail.com. And if you reach out to anything on the podcast page as well, that's an easy, quick way to get in touch with me because I'm on top of that 24/7 as well. And hey, like J.Rioh already said, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Wherever you're listening right now to 2020, stop what you're doing and open up a new tab, search for it, you'll find us. And we really do appreciate you having us on here, sir.
Hey, the pleasure's all mine, man. Like I said, you let me in your house, the least I can do is bring you over here and to sip some lean while you're over here. So I appreciate you both for taking time out y'all days. I know you're busy. I know J.Rioh had somewhere to be like 45 minutes ago. So I wanted to wrap this up with you guys.
She did.
So,
oh, no, you're good. I was definitely getting updates from my friend, and she was saying that some car problems was happening anyway. So
Black folks.
It's not like I was late to anything per se. And on top of that, it's already late. So she was like, yeah, we can definitely hang out tomorrow. And I was like, okay, that's fine. For my Snapchat, I'm more accepting on Snapchat because I surprisingly don't post as much anymore. And if I do, it's like a very, like one picture or two of memes or something. But for my Snapchat name.
What did you say?
Memes. What do you mean?
I definitely heard of nudes. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, look, Keem, I heard the same thing, bro. I heard the same thing.
Like, bro, I can't support this bad behavior.
Well, I know she into art, but
no, that's only for the special people. But,
no comment.
No.
All right.
But my Snapchat is J.Rioh124, J.Rioh 124.
My nigga, you spell J.Rioh like seven different ways, bro. You gotta get that together.
It's only 2 ways, and if you actually know me, it makes sense. So,
no, trust me, it makes plenty sense.
Wow.
Thank you.
Y'all have been a blessing to me today. I've laughed, I've sat here and pondered, and I've enjoyed myself, and I'm plenty sure that everyone listening has as well. And again, just like they said, if you're tuned in here, immediately go and subscribe, heart all of their videos, heart all of their pictures, all the audio, do everything, support your people. And they're definitely doing the damn thing. So J.Rioh, Sir Rude, been a pleasure. Thank you guys for calling in today.
Hey, thanks for having me, bro.
Hey, no problem.
This was a good conversation.
Hey, anytime.